Let's do last example for this section. Number B is, let's take fx equals to, let me take a function with some trig functions there, okay? So let me do fx equals to 6 sine square x plus 6 sine x, okay? We'll follow all the steps again. So first of all, we need to find the critical numbers. For the critical numbers, you need to find out the f prime. This is, you think like this is like 6 and then sine x square, because sine square x can be written like this, right? Plus 6 sine x, right? So do you think that this is like u square? So what is the, oh, this is not f prime, this is just f, right? This is just f. Now what do you think the f prime would be? So the f prime is equals to 6 times, it is u square, right? So 2u to the 2 minus 1 is just 1, you don't need to write, times u prime is cosine of x plus 6. What is the derivative of sine x? It is cosine of x. How do I simplify? Can you factor out something? Yes, I can take 6 cosine x out. If you take that out, what is left is 2 sine x minus 1. By the way, I forgot to write that the domain is between 0 and 2 pi. So we will be looking only between 0 and 2 pi here, okay? So what do you get? There is, so to find out the critical numbers, since these functions are defined everywhere, so you don't have to worry about where the f prime is undefined. Cosine is defined everywhere, sine is defined everywhere. So we are okay. So we will just do f prime equals to 0 implies either 6 cosine x equals to 0, that is x equals to, what do you get? If you divide both sides by 6, you will get arc cosine 0. What is the value of arc cosine 0? 1 is pi over 2, right? Because cosine pi over 2 is 0. So what is another? 3 pi over 2? And I don't want to go beyond that because that will be outside 0 to 2 pi. This is one set of critical value. You see that? To find out the other set of critical value, how do you do that? So basically you will do either this equals to 0 or that thing equals to 0, right? Or 2 sine x minus 1 equals to 0. So add 1 on both sides. 2 sine x equals to 1, right? So divide by 2, sine x equals to 1/2. So what is x? You need to take arc sine, right? Arc sine 1/2. So what are those values? X will be pi over 6 and then 5 pi over 6. So what are the critical values? There are many critical values there, right? So there is pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, pi over 6, 5 pi over 6. So now the next thing we do is we draw a line, number line, right? And then mark all those values. What is the smallest value? Pi over 6. And then the little bigger value is pi over 2. And then little bigger value is 5 pi over 6. And then the biggest one critical number is 3 pi over 2. Okay guys, so what you do is, it is easier if you use calculator, okay? So let me write down what is f prime. What is f prime? F prime is basically 6 cosine x. Okay, 6 cosine x. So let me write down f prime, because we'll be finding the sine of f prime, right? So the f prime is 6 cosine of x times 2 sine x minus 1. Minus 1. Okay, so what I suggest you to do is, I suggest you to use calculator and then plug in test point here, plug in test point here, plug in test point here, test point here, and test point here, and then check the sign. Okay, so I want to pick a test point here as little smaller than pi over 6 will be pi over 7. That's my test point. And what is little bigger than pi over 6? I want to do pi over 5, right? If you decrease the denominator, the fraction will be bigger. If you increase the denominator, fraction will be smaller. Okay. What is little bigger than pi over 2? Just pi? Pi will be bigger than pi over 6. So let's go this way. You want to do little bigger than pi over 2, okay? Or you can think little smaller than pi over 6, 5 pi over 6. Let's do 5 pi over 7. That way it will be easier. And little bigger than 5 pi over 6 will be pi, right? 5 pi over 5. Because if you decrease the denominator, you will get a little bigger number. 5 pi over 5 will be just pi. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, guys? Now, what I do is I will plug in these values in my f prime and then plug in take the sign, okay? So, let me enter in the calculator. So, you will get positive sign there, plus, plus, plus. You can basically plug in that pi. It is easier to plug in here, right? 6 times cosine pi is -1. 6 times -1 is -6 times 2 sine pi. Sine pi is 0. So that will be 0 minus 1 is -1. So -6 times -1 will be +6. So this will be positive. And then let me take, so 3 pi. This is, you can take, what is the number bigger than 3 pi over 2? This is 2 pi. The last value you can pick is 2 pi. The last value on the left side you can pick it 0, right? Because that's what the question is giving, 0 to 2 pi. You are finding between 0 to pi. Let's find out a number little smaller than 2 pi, right? What is the number between 2 pi, 3 pi over 2 and then 2 pi? It will be 3 pi over 2, 7 pi over 4. Yes, because I am finding the average of those two, okay? 3 pi over 2 plus it is 4 pi over 2, right? So if you don't know how to pick the test point, you can take the average of those two bounds, okay? 7 pi over 2. So let me enter that 7 pi over 2 in my calculator for x. So it will be positive, okay? So sorry, it will be negative. So let me do that. Negative, negative, negative. So it is positive and then negative like this. Okay, so what do you see then? So increasing in the interval. Increasing in the interval pi over 6 to pi over 2, right? And then 5 pi over 6 to 3 pi over 2. That's the two increasing interval. And then decreasing interval is 0 to pi over 6. And then pi over 2 to 5 pi over 6. And then 3 pi over 2 to 2 pi, right? That's what you get. Now, how about the local max, local mean? Local max. So this is increasing and decreasing convention. So pi over 2, x equals to pi over 2 and then 3 pi over 2. Right? And here also increasing and decreasing. So local max, local max. Local mean is pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. Local mean is x equals to pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. Okay, so if you are asked to find out the point form, what you do is you will plug in that pi over 2 in the question. Okay, so what is the question? Question is that, right? So if you want to write in the point form, this can be written as, this guy pi over 2 can be written as pi over 2 comma, if you plug in pi over 2 in the question, what do you get? 6 sine square pi over 2 is 1. 6 times 1 plus 6 times 1 is 12. Pi over 2, 12. And plug in 3 pi over 2. Okay. So what is 3 pi over 2 is, sine 3 pi over 2 is -1. Okay. So 6 times -1 square is positive 6. And then 6 times -1 is -6. So 6 minus 6 will be 0. So it will be 3 pi over 2 comma 0. Similarly, plug in pi over 6. How much is that? 6 times sine pi over 6 is 1/2 square is 1/4. 6 times 1/4 plus 6 times 1/2. Okay, so that means 6 over 4, that is 3 over 2 plus 6 over 2. So 6 over 2 plus 3 over 2 is 9 over 2. So you can write like this, pi over 6 comma 9 over 2 comma. Similarly, you find out 5 pi over 6 comma. What is 5 pi over 6? So 5 pi over 6 is sine 5 pi over 6 is also 1 over 2, positive 1 over 2, right? So this is also 9 over 2. That's what you get. Okay, so if it is asked in the point form, xy form, you just plug in that into the original given question. Okay guys, thank you.